Team USA.
Do you remember any of those Australian players on that team?
Yeah, I do. I just can't remember their names.
When Caitlin Clark walked into the Barclays Center on that warm July evening, she wasn't just stepping onto a basketball court. She was carrying an entire legacy of love, sacrifice, and unspoken devotion. Beneath the roar of the crowd and the gleam of arena lights lay a quieter truth, one woven through the years by her mother and Mitzi Clark, a woman whose sacrifices had silently built the foundation upon which her daughter's greatness stood. Caitlin, now just 7 rebounds away from making WNBA history, appeared to the world as a poised young athlete, a national sensation, a prodigy turned professional. But behind every sharp assist and every confident stride was a decade of unseen struggle and maternal devotion. That night, as she laced up her shoes with quiet determination, the same fluid rhythm that had electrified college basketball pulsed through her movements. Yet in the crowd, sitting almost motionless, and gripped a worn leather journal that held the story of everything she had given up so her daughter could rise. The fluorescent lights bathed the polished floor in a golden hue as Caitlin began her warm-up, each three-pointer landing with the precision that had become her trademark. The fans saw perfection, but what they couldn't see was the invisible thread between mother and daughter. A thread spun from years of faith, fear, and relentless belief in a dream too precious to name aloud. The game began with an energy that only rookies bring. Half courage, half recklessness, all heart. Caitlin moved with the grace and focus that had defined her since childhood, reading the court like sheet music, her instincts as sharp as her shot. By the end of the first quarter, she had notched 6 points and 4 assists. Solid numbers, yet far from history-making. But and knew better. She knew that every point was more than a statistic. It was the living echo of late nights in the driveway, of homemade sandwiches packed for tournaments, of whispered reassuring. During moments of doubt, watching her daughter command the floor and was pulled back to a memory from their West Des Moines kitchen 15 years earlier, Caitlin, just 8 years old, asking why she couldn't play on the boys' team, why women's games weren't televised, why the world didn't seem to care as much. Someday, and had said with quiet conviction, "You're going to change all of that, but it's going to take sacrifices you can't even imagine yet." She hadn't meant her own sacrifices at the time, but that was how it turned out. She had never told Caitlin how much she gave up, how many promotions she turned down, how many sleepless nights she endured, because to her, love didn't need to be announced. It only needed to be lived. By halftime, Caitlin had 12 points and 8 assists, yet the Indiana Fever trailed the Liberty by 11. In the locker room, she sat with her head bowed, sweat glistening on her forehead, the noise of the game echoing in her chest. The triple-double seemed like a distant dream, and the comeback even further away. But in the stands, and was reliving her own kind of halftime, the moment years ago when she had stood at a crossroads. It was 2015, Caitlin was a sophomore, already a local sensation, but the family's finances were stretched to the breaking point. Travel expenses, private coaching, endless camps. Every bit of it necessary to nurture her daughter's extraordinary gift. Then came the offer, a promotion at N's marketing firm in Chicago. It would have fixed everything financially, but it would have meant uprooting Caitlin from her coaches, her school, her team, her dream. "We can't move," Caitlin had said through tears. "Everything I've worked for is here." In that moment, N saw not just her daughter's fear, but her fire, the same determination that would one day fill arenas. And so, she turned down the promotion, quietly took on a second job, and told Caitlin not to worry. "We'll figure it out," she said, even as exhaustion became her constant companion. She never told her daughter about those sacrifices, never complained, never asked for recognition. Because love, she believed, was most powerful when it asked for nothing in return. When the third quarter began, something in Caitlin shifted. Her energy sharpened, her passes became more daring, her rebounds fiercer. Every possession carried the weight of something unseen, the culmination of all those unseen nights her mother had endured. With each assist, she crept closer to history. With each rebound, she inched toward immortality. Anne's eyes followed her every move, her heart swelling with pride and something deeper, the quiet satisfaction of a promise kept. She remembered the nights she worked past midnight, the weekends she spent behind the wheel instead of in bed, the dreams she had folded away to make space for Caitlin's. Yet beneath all that memory, one secret still lingered, one she had never shared. During Caitlin's senior year, when college scouts crowded the stands and national headlines began to call her the next great hope, and received a call from a sports psychologist, Caitlin, despite her talent and drive, had been struggling the pressure, the attention, the weight of expectation pressing against her young shoulders. "Your daughter is incredibly gifted," the psychologist had said, "but she's fragile right now. She's afraid of disappointing the world that believes in her," and had listened in silence, her heart breaking with the helplessness only a mother knows. And that night, instead of confronting her daughter, she did something quieter. She sat with Caitlin as she studied, offering gentle conversation, the kind that made space for calm. She began writing letters she never sent, pages filled with affirmations, memories, and quiet prayers that one day, Caitlin might read and understand the depth of her mother's belief in her. That journal, the one clutched in Anne's trembling hands that night at Barclays, contained those letters. Every page was a testament not just to love, but to faith. Faith that her daughter would one day find strength in the unseen forces that had always guided her. As the final quarter unfolded, Caitlin's play transcended logic. Her energy ignited her teammates. Her passes threaded through defenders like whispers, and her shots fell with poetic inevitability. The Fever mounted a comeback that seemed almost mythical, the kind of sports moment that reminds people why they believe in hope at all. With 30 seconds left, Caitlin grabbed her 10th rebound, securing the triple-double and etching her name in history. The crowd erupted, cameras flashed, teammates embraced her, but Caitlin's eyes, brimming with emotion, instinctively searched the stands until they found her mother. And in that fleeting exchange, one glance across the chaos, everything unspoken was understood. The years of struggle, the sleepless nights, the quiet sacrifices, the faith that had carried them both to this exact moment. It all crystallized into one wordless connection. And, still holding the journal, smiled through tears, her heart full, knowing that sometimes the greatest victories are not won on courts or fields, but in the unseen places where love and sacrifice dwell. And as Caitlin stood beneath the lights, history written in sweat and grace, it became clear that what made her extraordinary wasn't just her talent, but the invisible love that had shaped her.
And yeah, I mean, I have like a lot of people here who I can talk to about it. I've talked to a lot of the UConn alums about the transition, and they've just been extremely helpful.
When Caitlin Clark made WNBA history with her record-breaking triple-double, few knew the story behind the moment. Her mother, and had spent years making silent sacrifices, turning down promotions, working nights, and even attending therapy to learn how to support Caitlin without adding pressure. That night, as the crowd erupted, and wept not for the statistics but for the love and endurance behind them. After the game, Caitlin found her mother in the tunnel, and through tears, they finally shared the truth, the hidden sacrifices, the gratitude, the bond that defined them. Later, Caitlin founded the Clark Foundation, honoring the lesson her mother had taught her, that real greatness is not measured in points or trophies, but in kindness, courage, and the love that makes dreams possible.